Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I put together 25 different Conversation Hearts Valentine's Day Dollar Tree DIYs for you. It's such a fun theme for this time of year.
I want to make a giant Sweet Hearts candy hearts box. Now, to do that, I thought the easiest thing would be just to use some gift boxes. I picked these up at Target. The size on these is 14.75 by 9.5 by 1.88 inches. Just because the ones at the Dollar Tree were a little too small that I could find. And I want to cover it with vinyl was my plan. So I'm going to start off with some white vinyl on my Cricut, and I'm going to cut out a design, and I will share the printable with you guys that I made for this. Now, you could also use a cereal box or something like that if you had that in your recycling. I decided to use the gift box just because I won't have to paint the sides of the box or anything like that. And what I plan to do is to cover it with this vinyl from the Dollar Tree. I like crafting with this stuff. I don't like using it on my Cricut machine because it sticks to my mat way too much. But it is very sticky. You kind of only get one chance on this. So I don't know if it's easier to do paint or vinyl, but I did use vinyl for most of my box. I just line it up upside down like this because I only get one chance. Once this paper sticks to that box, it's stuck. And I just lined it up where half of it's going to be covered in red like that and smooth that out. The only problem that I had using the vinyl for this is the fact that it doesn't layer really well. I don't know if it's the combinations of different kinds of vinyl that I used or just doing that many layers of vinyl in general, but I did have a little issue with that with some bubbling. The first layer went on very smoothly though. This Cricut vinyl from the Dollar Tree right now is like 50 cents. So it's a great bargain. So they have lots of fun colors like this. And the box on the Sweethearts box, the traditional box, is red at the top and pink on the bottom. So that's what I'm trying to recreate. So I cut out another piece. I wanted to lay it on like that because that was easier, but I need to line it up just perfectly. So I'm going to have to be really careful and try to only get it attached where I want it. Because again, I tried this a couple of times to try to get it on there smoothly and not tear the box. So I got this on there pretty good. There's a slight overlap, but that's okay. It's better than having a gap, I guess. And then again, just cut off my excess vinyl using my little rotary tool. I got one of those from Dollar Tree the other day as well. I need to try out. And it does a great job cutting like this in areas where you can't really get scissors in there. Now I cut out the white vinyl in a design that has like the white heart part of the Sweethearts box and also like the Sweethearts logo that I was able to find online. And I cut that all out in white. So I also cut out the white heart right where the box is going to need a cutout for the candy. I just weeded that out. I also cut out some red vinyl in the heart that goes on the insides pattern. I did have some issues using that one. You'll see here in a minute, but I was able to solve it. But that's what this one is. So this is part of the cut file as well. I might share them separately. I'll have to look at how I have it designed, but I will include that in the description of today's video if you want to try to recreate. But that is the red heart part of it. My Cricut red was a lot bolder than my Dollar Tree red, but it's no big deal. For the Sweethearts, I just did a very traditional box. I'm not going to do extra details on here. I'm just doing the word and the hearts and the cutout and the candy inside. So I just put the white vinyl there on the top. And then the heart I made big enough so it would almost overlap the edges because that's the way it looks like on those boxes with some white vinyl. That's when I first experienced some bubbling from layering the vinyl. It did get worse though when I added the red to it. But the white I was able to use. Now I'm able to go ahead and now start cutting it out. I'm just using my razor blade to go right where the white is. I'm not too worried about messing anything up here because the red heart's going to go here to kind of cover up this area, but I need a window for the candy to show through. So the sides of this are not long enough to interfere with that cut, and so it worked out pretty well just using a cutting mat and my razor blade to cut that out. And I think that looks pretty good. And now it's time to add the red heart. And so I'm just trying to line that up and add the vinyl. This one really bubbled and I didn't really like it. I tried to get it out. I tried scraping it. I tried heat on it. And I just don't think it looks very good. So what I end up doing after trimming it up here a little bit, because I don't want to be able to see any of the other color through here, is I just went ahead and removed it and used paint instead, just because I didn't want to cut any more vinyl. And I figured that if this bubbled so bad, probably from the third layer of vinyl, that it was probably going to do it again. I think that maybe if you used HTV instead of vinyl, you might not have that problem. It might go on smoother, but I thought it was obvious, the bubbling. So I'm just going to go ahead and peel that one off. I thought it would be easy enough to do the inside red heart with some paint. So I'm just using a paint pen and I'm using the heart for reference, the cutout, and trying to line out the red heart. Just using like my Posca paint pen, I'm going to go ahead and start filling that in. I will have to go back with some acrylic just so it's not so choppy, the paint job on this. But this was such a fun DIY. This would be a really fun DIY for a Valentine's Day party. If you had little ones, I'm going to use it as part of my decor because I think it's just really a fun idea. And so once I got it on there with the paint pen, it looked pretty good. I'm going to go in and try to make it look better with just some bright red acrylic. So it's just trying to use some smooth strokes here so it's not super obvious that I had to switch to painting. It does kind of give it more of a handmade feel with the painting. How would you guys do it? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. Would you paint or use vinyl on this? I mean, I think the red and the pink turned out really good for the top and bottom because it looks very professional. And of course the sweethearts, there's no way I'm going to be able to freehand that properly. And now for the window, I decided to use one of these acrylic sheets from the Dollar Tree. These are new. They have them in like 8x10, 5x7, 4x6, maybe even 3.5x5. This is the 8x10 size. I'm going to put that on the inside of the box. That way I'll have something clear yet sturdy to be able to put the conversation hearts on. It's like kind of sticking to the window to make it look like it's full of conversation hearts. You could also use glass for this, but then it's going to be a little bit more fragile. So I thought this was a fun application for the acrylic. For the candy hearts, I picked up some of these eraser hearts from the Dollar Tree. I think these are school supplies. I got them next to the checkout, but I thought they'd be the perfect size. And they have a design on them, but they are white and plain on the back. So I thought they would be easy enough to paint and look like conversation hearts. And they're just like about the right size scale for this. Also, they have the right shape. Like they're a little bit chunky like this. So I just picked out like some of my lightest pastel colors. I did like a soft pink polish. I did, I think this sunbright yellow maybe, lake blue, and like a lavender. There's other colors that you could do as well. Like you could do like a light green. There's a white one, I think. There's a lot of different pastel colors, but as long as you get pastel, I think it's good. I'm just sponging mine on. Now, the eraser doesn't paint well. It kind of gives it a chalky finish, which is actually good because that's what the conversation hearts actually look like. They don't paint real bold. They would be chalky because that's just the consistency of the candy. So I just sponged those on, one coat on top and one coat on the side in case you can see the side at all. Then once I got those dry, I went back in with one more coat on the top, just using little makeup sponges for that, and it worked out really well. For the writing, I'm just going to use a red Sharpie. I think that's going to be good. It won't bleed too much, and it's small enough for me able to write on here. So I just started writing like traditional phrases on here. Like this one says, "Be mine." I went to ChatGPT and I'm like, tell me what's on conversation hearts typically. And it gave me lots of ideas. So I want them all to be different. And this one says, love you. And I'm going to continue that for the other ones. I think 8 is going to be plenty. 2 packages to fill in that window to kind of make it look like it's full of conversation hearts. So we have hug me. We have kiss me. I'm telling you, I ate so many of these yesterday while I was DIYing these. Probably not good for my New Year diet, right? Call me, we'll do True Love on this one, and I still have the lavender ones. I'll do the traditional XOXO. And how about Text Me? And I think they turned out really cute. Now, the only way I could think of to attach them to the window is hot glue. The problem is that you can see the hot glue. It's not super obvious, but I thought if I Mod Podged that on there, they were just going to fall off. But I don't know. If the hot glue spot bothers you, you might want to use a different kind of adhesive. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if school glue would have been better. I just tried to not get a lot of stringing with my hot glue and just do simple dots, just scattering these all over, kind of going every which way, but where you'll be able to see them from outside. And I think it is definitely sturdier with a hot glue attaching them, but again, you can kind of see the glue dot. I have not perfected that. But that is what it looks like so far. I think it's so cute. I thought about covering the sides of the box with the vinyl as well, but the project was a little bit challenging, and so I was kind of done with it by the time I got to this point. Now, I do want it to stand up on its own, and so I do need to weigh down the bottom of the box. I just took some Dollar Tree stones right here in the bottom just to weigh it down so it doesn't tip over because it's just an empty box. And I am going to go ahead and put the lid back on it. I guess you could fill it with candy hearts too and give it as a gift. That looks really good. I'm just going to trim up my vinyl here so it doesn't overlap the edges and it stands up on its own. And I think it's so cute. Let me show you how it turned out. Here it is, our little giant Sweethearts box full of candy. Isn't it so cute? And it's pretty large too. I think it's going to look really fun with my Valentine holiday decor. And you could also use, the gift boxes from Dollar Tree to make a little bit smaller version. At least my store only had the smaller ones.
Now for the next DIY, I found a soft pink candle holder from Dollar Tree, and we're also going to use one of their little floral cones. I wanted to do a candy heart tree, and so I kind of want it to be pointy at the top and not cut off like the foam is. And you're also going to be able to see through the candy hearts, and I don't want you to be able to see the styrofoam. So we're going to use some of the white glitter cardstock from Dollar Tree, and we're going to wrap it. It's going to solve both of those problems. So I'm just kind of trying it out for size. I'm going to go ahead and glue down the first corner here onto the styrofoam cone and wrap it until I get like a point at the top instead of that blunt end, but just enough to kind of cover it where I can kind of do a straight seam here, right here on the back. So I trim off my excess cardstock. And this was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and it turned out so cute. So I do a bead of hot glue, just rolling that on top to glue that down. And I do have a seam again, but doesn't really matter. It's all going to be covered up with some of those little conversation hearts. Then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess paper right here at the bottom, just trimming it down until I get to the foam. And at this point, it's pretty lightweight, but in the end, it's actually a pretty substantial piece with a lot of weight and stuff to it. I'm going to start at the very top. I didn't get my point directly smooth, but we're going to cover that up with candy hearts, so I think it'll be okay. So starting at the top, I'm just going to take my first one and kind of cover up that like area that was kind of open. And only 2 is going to fit on the first row. And I'm just using hot glue, making sure to squeeze that down to make sure it's good and secure. They will stay on paper, but as you can see, you definitely have to make sure they are stuck before you like kind of stop with each one. So I made sure I got each one attached really well. And then I am hot gluing them around. This row has room for about 3. You have that white glitter paper behind it, so it's okay if you have some gaps. Now for the third row, as you can see, I'm kind of alternating them so they'll kind of fit in the grooves from the one on top and just trying to fit that in going around. It's not always going to work out perfectly, but it was actually pretty easy as long as I kept a row at a time to build it and
kind of nestle the next one and then just start going around it. As you can see, I do a dot of hot glue. I found the easiest way for me to put it together was to put the hot glue directly on the paper, and you can get away with doing a couple at a time, but again, you have to really make sure that you have it glued down because you don't want those popping off later, right? So we're going to speed this way up because this was a little bit time consuming. I would say, I think it took me about 30 minutes to glue all the little conversation hearts to the tree. I know they're candy and we are DIYing with them. And so this one, we are going to be able to seal a little bit to try to make this a little bit more permanent. And we've got about half of it done. What I'm doing is just trying to alternate colors. I don't really want to match like the colors to the sides or to the top, like above it. And so trying to just keep it really random. There was like, I don't know, like 5 different colors, and I just kept building this. Now, it turned out so cute that I'm kind of tempted to go craft some more of these and kind of display them together. I just love the way they look on the little candle holders. I did Valentine's Day trees last year with like a more glam look, but this is definitely a sweet look. I really think this would be cute paired with your regular decor, or you could mix it in with other Valentine's Day stuff. It's super sweet, and of any candy for Valentine's Day, this is the one that reminds me of Valentine's Day, which was why I was really surprised that I couldn't find any at Dollar Tree. They were kind of perplexed why they didn't have any as well. Now, Target also had the mini conversation hearts that come in the little boxes. I'm not sure if they're the same size. They might be because these are called tiny conversation hearts too. But these are the Brock's brand, and they were pretty good with writing on most of them. And I just keep going until I really have no more room. If I can fit it a little bit crooked here on the bottom, I do. Otherwise, I just leave it. And I just filled it up as much as I could. So this is what the little conversation heart tree looks like at this point. And I want to be able to reuse this candle holder later, so I'm not actually going to attach it to it, but you totally could if you wanted to. At this point, it's nice and heavy duty. It's no longer foam and paper. I do want to seal it to make it a little bit more permanent. So I have some like matte finish sealer spray paint, and I am just going to do one quick spray of paint all over to kind of seal that. I was a little worried that the ink on the little conversation hearts might bleed, but it definitely didn't. And I do think that it helped, seal it, make it a little bit more permanent. Some of the DIYs I was able to seal it today, but some of them I didn't really need to. But this is how it's going to go on my candle holder. And this is how it turned out. Now you can see the one reason I wanted to cover the cone is because you can see the little gaps in between, and that white glitter paper looks really cute back there, but you could use like white poster board as well. And it definitely gave me a great cone shape on this, which made it look really sweet. You can kind of see how big it is there. We're going to use one of these new wood hearts from the Dollar Tree. They are the wood bead hearts, and I love them. I keep finding these at the store, and every time I want to grab one. And I was so excited I was able to find the Sweet Hearts brand of the candy hearts this year. These taste the best, in my opinion. Last year, I was only able to find the Brock's. So it looks like these things are back. I find that the writing on these is a little bit better than the Brock's, especially for decorating. But what I'm doing is I'm making sure that each one does have words on it, that it's not completely cut off. You can make out what it says. And I'm just hot gluing them to the wood dots. So they have like a little slight distress on each one of the wood beads there. I'm just covering that up with the candy heart. At first, I thought about doing like a pattern of the colors, but then I decided that I like it more random better. There's quite a few different colors. So it's just finding one in the right color that has words on it that you can read. I did get a bellyache because, I had to dispose of the ones that didn't have any writing on them. But this DIY was so easy and fun to do. And if you wanted to do like 3 of these hanging, that would be really cute too. I did that with these wood hearts in my like French or Paris themed Valentine's Day DIY video, and they're so cute. I love the way they're painted and everything. Once I cover the entire heart with the conversation hearts, just using hot glue, I want to seal them now. I'm using Rust-Oleum matte finish because I don't want it to be shiny, but I do want it to be sealed so that the candy is sealed and decorative and not candy that's going to attract bugs or anything like that. It also made the words way easier to read. So I just sprayed it with one coat of that. It did make it bolder, but it did dry a little bit more pastel. The final touch would be a little pink bow. I got this pink ribbon, I think it's actually Easter ribbon, at the Dollar Tree. Some of my stores are starting to get Easter out just a little bit. And I'm just going to tie just a very simple bow. It's really pretty. It's like a light pink, but it's got like a little bit of a gold trim on it. And I just tie a simple bow and cut off the tails so they'll be the same. And I'm going to put that right here in the middle of the heart just to dress up the heart a little bit. A little hot glue right there on that very tip of the heart should do it. And this was such a fun DIY. It's not very large, so you could really hang this just about anywhere. And if you wanted to kind of lean it up against something and not use the built-in hanger on the back, you could totally do that as well. But I think I'm going to hang mine up. This is how it turned out. It's so cute. Using those little conversation hearts to decorate is just one of my favorite things.
Very whimsical and definitely reminds me of Valentine's Day. When I was a child, I definitely love those little candies, and they're so much fun to decorate with. But the little white heart there is such an easy canvas for that. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to like it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you would hype today's video.
Up next, I have a floral DIY using conversation hearts. I'm going to use one of these large jars from the Dollar Tree. I love these things. They're so versatile. I'm actually going to make mine into a little conversation heart vase by putting another little glass Dollar Tree candle holder down inside to kind of form a vase within a vase so that I can fill it up with some of the candy hearts. Now, this particular one was just the right size, but I don't really need the handle or anything on there, so I just went ahead and took that one off. And the jar itself is really a kind of a nice size. I thought I could make a really cute little Valentine's Day flower arrangement. Now I go ahead and put it in there because I kind of need to bury it down within the conversation hearts. And this also is beneficial because you're going to use less of the little candy hearts because you're only filling up the sides, even though like the appearance of the floral arrangement, it's going to look like the whole thing is filled with the little candy hearts. Now, this was good because it took less, but also a little tricky because you kind of have to like put them in there kind of like piece by piece, as you can see me doing. And I was trying to like randomly do the colors and stuff like that. You'll see today we're going to be using lots of the conversation hearts. It seems like green and yellow are like the most common colors for some reason. I had to keep opening bags to get like different colors. But these are all your standard colors. I was not able to find any of the conversation hearts at Dollar Tree, even though they normally carry some. Maybe not brand name, but they had nothing. So I had to go to Target to get mine. They actually had a good sale going on, 25% off on these. So that helped with these DIYs. But both of the jars and the florals that you see there are both from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep filling it until I get to like the rim of the little jar or candle holder that's inside. Don't necessarily want to have any fall inside, but I want it to look really full like that. Now for the florals, I'm just going to take a little piece of that floral foam from the Dollar Tree. I had a scrap piece that fit perfectly inside. And then these are the florals that we're using. They're kind of like a pink and yellow. And I thought that would go nice with like the pink and the yellow little conversation hearts. So we're going to use a couple sprigs of these to kind of fill it up. I want it to look really full. Initially, I wanted to do like a pink rose, but I couldn't find anything like that at Dollar Tree. The only thing I could really find was some really premium like red rose arrangements like at Dollar Tree Plus. And that totally wouldn't go. So I like the colors on these. I think it's going to work well. It's going to look really nice and springy and fun for Valentine's Day. So I was able to use almost two. I think I used all but one on this one and filled it completely up. Now, since it was a jar, it has like the screw on part on the top, and I kind of want to mask that. So I'm going to use some of this adorable pink heart ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to cut that down to size and just glue that over the little screw part there of the jar just to kind of give it a little bit more of a finished thing. And we're going to be using a lot of like powder pink in some of these DIYs. I tried to do like a lot of pastels and conversation hearts. And I think they turned out really adorable for Valentine's Day decor. I have done some conversation heart DIYs before and I really liked them. So I thought this would be a great theme to decorate some areas of my home for Valentine's Day. And this is how our first DIY turned out. Our little spring floral arrangement with a jar full of candy hearts. You can kind of tell already. A lot of green in those. I wonder why there's more of one color than the others. But isn't that so pretty? I think it turned out adorable. For the next Valentine's Day DIY, I picked up one of these frames from the Dollar Tree. This is the wood bead frame. I love these. They have them in like 4x4 and 5x7 I saw. And they're wood and they have a wood bead on them. So I think they're so pretty. I'm going to paint mine because I really like white together with the conversation hearts because the pastels and the white just really work well together for a color scheme. So I'm going to paint mine just a white color with acrylic. You could leave it just the wood if you wanted, or they have a white bead frame that I used in my Paris Valentine's Day video that is plastic instead of wood, but it's already this color, so you could use that as well. And you could put a picture of your loved one in on this. I actually designed a watercolor printable of a conversation heart that I will include the free printable for you down in the description of today's video if you'd like to recreate. Or, of course, you can put a picture of your Valentine in there. Now, I did notice there was lots of space around the wood beads on these, so I did go in here with a second coat of white, making sure that I filled in all the gaps. I just think it made it look a little bit better, and I want it to all be the same color, not really have any of that wood finish come through. But I want to cover the frame with conversation hearts. I thought that would be another fun way to craft. A frame is always great because it's just like seashells. It just makes a great thing to decorate. So more sweethearts. I found these bagged sweethearts like this at Target. I could find them at the Dollar Tree in, I think, the Brock's, but they were the little tiny boxes, and I needed tons of these for crafting today, so I liked them by the bag, and they were on sale right now. I think buy one, get one half off at my Target, and they had plenty of them. I was so excited to find this brand, though. They, too, definitely taste better. So I started at the top, but then I went to the bottom to make sure that I was able to space these out properly. The side worked out really well. Perfect amount of hearts to cover it with no real gaps at all. The bottom did have a slight gap over on the left-hand side, so I probably should have went end to end like I did on the first one, but that's okay. And just like previous DIYs, I am alternating different colors, making sure that they all have a design on there that you can actually read. And we're just going to fill in this outer part. At first, I thought maybe I was going to do the outer part, and there's actually room to do the inner part of this sign as well. But I decided that it looked so cute with just the outer part with the conversation hearts that I stopped right there. See, there is a slight gap there on the left. My perfectionist heart hated that, but in the end, I think it's okay. So it might be best to do like I started, going on one end, going on the other end, or you could lay all yours out in advance first before you glue them on. Now, I want to seal them. I'm going to use the Rust-Oleum Matte Finish Sealer. I think this is an acrylic sealer, and I'm going to spray these so they don't attract any bugs or anything like that, and seal them, of course, making them not food safe. And again, it really brings out the sayings when you put that sealer on there. It really activates the ink. And then I dried mine, and we're going to go ahead and put this together. I printed this little Be Mine heart printable out on cardstock. You could also do it on regular paper. I don't think it would really matter on this project. I just like the stability of cardstock. It's really easy to work with. I designed mine to be a 4x4, and it's just about the right size. I just trimmed it up to fit the glass frame on this. This actually has a real glass frame on it. So these are really high quality for $1.25. They're wood and they have the glass frame. Just pop everything back together. This was such an easy DIY to make, and I think it looks so cute for Valentine's Day. You could put this printable in there. You could put a picture of your husband, your boyfriend, your kid, your grandkid. I think this is so cute. And this would be such a fun way to get the little ones involved in crafting too. I think that they would really enjoy this DIY. And look at all the fun sayings on these. They're so cute. And they tasted really good. Next Valentine's Day DIY, I have one of these little Dollar Tree frames, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the hanger from the side because I'm going to be making a vertical project. I usually save those for other DIYs. I chose this one because it had the light wood frame, and I thought that would work well. I do want the background to be white though, and I want it to be like really white. So I just grabbed some white cardstock, and it's almost the perfect size, like a regular 8.5 by 11, but I did need to trim it down ever so slightly. And that's going to give me a great white background without having to paint it and covering up that dark wood. And I want to do a really fun, like, candy heart collection, hanging like you would kind of see when you display a collection of scientific things like bugs. I've done it with shells, different things like that. And so I'm just going to put a layer of Mod Podge all over the back. I try to do kind of a thick coat because the cardstock is a little bit heavy duty. And then just lay that right on top. I'm not going to seal the top of it. I don't think it really needs it. And I really like the matte finish of the paper. I just wanted a plain white background on this. I thought about painting the frame light pink, but I decided against it. But I think it would look really cute too if you did that with a pastel. But I'm just making sure it's all smoothed down and it can dry. But I also need to start mapping out kind of where I want to put all the candy hearts because I want it to look like a grid. So I had to break out my ruler, and first I'm going to kind of find like in the middle of the sign so I can center the first row. And then I had to kind of calculate about how much I need. I went like 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna go down and do as many rows as I think is gonna look really good. And so that's like the center line. And then I was trying to decide how many I wanted. I was thinking whether I want to do 3 across or if I want to do a 5 across. And I decided to do 5. I think it looks good that way. But it's just a matter of kind of mapping it out. I was having to use my brain here for some math skills. I was like, okay, yeah. And try to make it even. I'm just wanting them to be kind of centered, but I want them to all be equal distance away from each other. And I think mine was like 1.25 inches apart, side to side, was what I decided. And so I have my first row mapped out. And I think that's going to be really good. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and do the same thing here for the other rows. And I can kind of use the dots that I have on there as guide. I guess another way you could do this is you could design your grid with dots on it, print it out on the cardstock, and then you wouldn't have to do all the measuring. That might be an easier way to do it. But I already have it on there, so I'm just going to do some calculating, put my little dots on there so I'll know exactly where to glue each one of the little candy hearts down. So I think that process probably took longer than like the entire DIY. Now I do want to like alternate colors if I can. As you can see, I'm kind of getting down to the greens and the yellows. That's what I was kind of meaning by there's way more of those than everything else. But I do want a variety in each row. I don't really want to do white because I do have the white background on this one. But just kind of going ahead and lay them all out so that I can kind of map it out before I glue them down. And just trying to do a variety. I did do probably more green than anything else. That's when I realized I had an overabundance of green, but I wanted to spread them out as well. So we're going to do a total of 5, and we did 4 rows. So now I can kind of move them out of the way so I can see my dots exposed there, and I can go ahead and start gluing these on. You can do a couple at a time without your hot glue drying if you have a hot glue gun. I went ahead and did all 5 dots because I thought I could easily just move those, pushing those down, making sure they're glued tightly. If they do pop off, you can always put another drop of hot glue and get them attached pretty easily. I'm glad I decided to do like the white cardstock on the back because you can see how bright that white is. And it would have taken quite a few coats of white paint to get that good a coverage, I think. So there's our second row. I just glue it down. That's what I mean about the measuring process probably taking longer than the entire DIY because this part was super easy. And it's just such a cute, easy little DIY. You could hang this, kind of lean it against a wall. I think that's what I'm going to kind of do, kind of lean it against the wall with some of my Valentine's Day decor. And it's just super easy, but super sweet. Our little Valentine heart sign. And you can see all the little messages on there. They don't stamp them on there very evenly, do they? I don't guess they ever really did. But I did try to make sure they all had words on them and that the words were like all pointed up. Very few of them didn't have words, but there were a few that didn't. And this is how this one turned out. For the next candy heart DIY, we're going to make a candy heart candle. So I picked up a candle holder and a candle stand from the Dollar Tree and also some of the jarred candles like this. The reason why is because you're not really supposed to mix the candy hearts in with your candle. Anything that's not flammable, that's not really supposed to be burned, really shouldn't, unless it's going to be like a base or something like that. And I do another larger version of a candy heart candle later on in today's video. I do want the candle holder to stay on the candlestick. I picked up this soft pink one from the Dollar Tree. I thought they'd be perfect for Valentine's Day, but really any of their pastels would work. They have like a minty green blue one that's really pretty too. And I attached that just with some hot glue. And I had to put a little bit of a base of the conversation hearts first because my candle wasn't tall enough to go all the way to the top. The only challenging part was trying to get it level like that so that I can go ahead and fill in the sides. So this will make it look like a candy heart candle, but I can still burn it. So I thought this would work out well. The only challenging part was trying to get the candy in here. I did kind of put them in one at a time because I want you to be able to read the words from the outside. I don't want them all to be flipped over. And I also want to keep the candle relatively centered. That was a little tricky on this one as well. But it worked out and it was an easy way to do this. Again, I have a large version of a conversation heart candle later on in today's video. I like both of them. I think they're going to look really good together as a set. But I got it filled. I went all the way to the top. I don't want to overlap the top of the candle so I can burn it. But this is how it looks. A little conversation heart candle. Really easy to do. A lot of those words are kind of hard to see because these are kind of my leftover ones. See, I didn't eat them all. But I don't think it really matters on the candle application for this, just when you're like applying them to DIYs that we do a lot of today. But since this is a candle, I always like to show you what it looks like lit as well. And I like the fact that I can light this. I guess if you didn't want to use like a jarred candle inside, you could always use like a battery operated candle as well. That would be a safe way to do this, but just a really fun idea for Valentine's Day. And I love how all the pastel colors go together, and I think it looks really pretty lit up. Now for the next DIY, I have a little wood heart that I got at Dollar Tree, a little pink bucket that I actually got at Dollar Spot. They do have these, of course, at Dollar Tree, but I really liked this pastel color. And I want to try turning this little wood heart into like a little candy heart topiary. So I got a dowel also from the Dollar Tree. I just cut mine down a little bit because it was a little bit too tall. And then the tricky part is trying to drill a hole right into the tip here. I did notice it was a little bit challenging. I did put some wood underneath of it to kind of get some leverage. But once I got started, it wasn't too bad. So my first drill bit, though, was totally not wide enough. And that dowel is a little bit wider. So I switched drill bits here and went in and made it a little bit bigger. And we were able to like get it to fit nice and snug inside to make the structure of the topiary. Now, like normally a topiary would be like a plant or something like that, but ours is going to be the little conversation hearts. I think that's going to be so cute. I put a little dot of hot glue in there and then just put that in there. I got a nice firm hold, and now it's just a matter of kind of painting it to kind of make a blank canvas, because between the conversation hearts that we're going to attach, you're going to be able to see through it kind of like you could on the little conversation heart tree that we made. And we're going to be covering the top, the bottom, both, even the sides with the candy heart. So I went ahead and painted all of the surfaces of it, just white acrylic. I'm also painting most of the dowel too, because you're going to be able to see that poking out of the pot. And I really love how this turned out. I think it's so cute. Hey, check out my new drying gun. My drying gun bit the dust, and so I got this new one on Amazon. I love the color. I think it's so pretty. Now it's time to decorate this. This was actually kind of like a lot smaller than the tree, so it definitely wasn't as time consuming. But I'll show you my strategy for gluing on the candy hearts to this. I was going to at first do rows like we did before. And I guess I did technically do that, but like it's kind of a bent row to kind of go with the shape of the heart, because the bottom is going to be lower, and even on the top, it's going to be like lower right there dipped. And so I am doing a row. I did 3 on the bottom, 5 on the next one, but as you can see, that middle piece goes down a little bit. And I'm just going to do as many as I can fit. This one, I can fit another one. It does slightly overlap the edges, but I think that's okay. So we're going to do a total of 7 on this row. I do want it to have as many on there as I can get attached. But to keep everything centered, I do start there in the middle and then just keep gluing those out. You can do a couple at a time, as long as you make sure that your hot glue is still nice and hot before you attach them. And just like before, I'm trying to alternate colors, trying not to repeat colors next to each other, because I do want it to look really random. Up here at the top, I can only fit about, I think a total of 7 on this top row, with that little piece going down a little bit in the middle, gave me the perfect heart shape. So this is what we have so far. And I told you we were going to cover the back, so I'm going to go ahead and do this same exact thing here with the back. That plan worked really well, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing back here. I kind of know about how many rows I'm going to need, so I went ahead and did the center first, and then we're just going to fill it up with candy hearts. Now that little wood heart was like sort of thick, so there's plenty of room to cover the sides of it with the little candy hearts too, to kind of make it look the total effect. You know, we did the candy heart tree, so this is going to be like a candy heart topiary. I had thought about doing this with a foam ball, but the little foam balls that I can find at the Dollar Tree were a little small. I didn't think it would be that cute. I thought it would be cuter to be in the shape of a heart like this. So the front and the back is covered. It kind of looks like a sweet treat you want to eat, doesn't it? On a stick. And then we can start working on the sides. I kind of made mine go like all the same direction, point side down. And, you know, depending on how much the other ones kind of overlap the sides, you kind of have to move it around. But I had plenty of room to glue everything down. And then we're just going to do the same thing all the way around. It's okay that I didn't paint like the bottom of the dowel there, because that's going to be down in the floral foam, which I'm going to use to hold this up. And this was actually a pretty easy DIY, and I was really impressed with how well it turned out. Super cute. So everything's covered. I'm just going to go ahead and use my heat gun to try to get any of the little glue streaks of hot glue off of it. And just like the little tree we did before, I'm going to go ahead and seal this to kind of make it more permanent, hopefully hold up year to year. So again, I'm using the Rust-Oleum matte finish. I didn't want anything too glossy. And I'm just going to spray both sides of that to get a good seal. And the matte finish still gives you that chalky texture that you want on your conversation hearts. Isn't it so cute? It does look like you could eat it. Now for the little tin, these little foam pieces from the Dollar Tree fit perfectly in these little tin buckets. The bucket's perfect. I don't have to do anything to it. Just go ahead and put the foam down inside. And then we can just take this dowel right here in the center of the foam, pushing it down inside, nice and sturdy. Then to cover up the green foam, I'm going to be using more of those candy hearts, trying to use as many of those yellow and green ones as I can. But I will have to open up another bag if I do want to get a few more colors mixed in there. But just filling it up till, you can't really see any of the foam. And I think it turned out so cute. Now I did have the handle in the back, so I kind of switched that to the front by pulling that out and placing it back in. But this is how it turned out, our little conversation heart topiary. Very cute, very sweet, and really easy to do. I bet you didn't know there were so many DIYs you can make out of Valentine's Day candy. I love it. I think it's so sweet. For the next Valentine's Day DIY, we're going to use some of this pink fuzzy fabric that I found at the Dollar Tree to make a conversation heart pillow. So it is 12 by 24 is the dimensions on the fabric. I thought I could use one of these 11.5-inch wood hearts from the Dollar Tree. It's a perfect size to give me a perfect heart here. I just turn it over inside out so I can draw on it. I use a Sharpie to sketch out a perfect heart. I'm going to do a really simple no-sew pillow and make it look like a conversation heart. I think this fabric is so pretty, and I don't think it'll fray or anything like that. It'll be easy to do a no-sew pillow. So I'm just going to cut that out right where I put the lines, making sure that I have like the bottom kind of lined up there so it'll be a perfect heart. I've had to pause this recording a million times to keep coughing. I has still not recovered from whatever that crud was that I got on the cruise ship on our Christmas cruise. But I'm feeling better, but it's kind of hard to talk. Now for the letters, I'm using some of the little red felt adhesive letters from the Dollar Tree. They also have like a red felt love word that is all one word that would work well for this, but I wanted it to be like a traditional conversation heart with a message on there. So these are perfect. They're stickers, so all you have to do is peel off the backing, and they're a lot easier to find these little felt stickers at my Dollar Trees than the wood letters anyway. And they're the perfect color because they're red. So I just have mine say be mine, and just working from the center out, I'm trying to center that little message on our conversation heart. And again, simple no-sew. My mother was a seamstress. I am not, so I am just going to do a hot glue method on this one. And it was really easy to put this together. I'm just going to do the top part first. So I did one corner here of the heart. I'm making sure to align everything up properly and lay that on there. And you really only get one chance on this because that hot glue is going to stick on there. So make sure you take it kind of step by step like this so you can get it lined up properly. And I'm going to go around here. This is going to be a little decorative pillow for my hall tree and my entryway. I think it'll be really cute. And I love this fabric. I have it like in a goldish yellow that I've used a lot for my bee DIYs. I think I might have it in black as well now, but I thought this pink would be perfect for Valentine's Day. I glue all the way around except I left a small pocket down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to fill it in with some polyfill. Did you know that Dollar Tree has polyfill? If you're lucky enough to find it, you can get it there. Otherwise, you could always use an old pillow. I used to do that a lot before Dollar Tree got theirs in. But I'm just going to fill it in. I want it to be nice and fluffy, but not too fluffy. It's not a super large pillow. And then I'm just going to glue this final lip on. I found that if any hot glue seeped out, it was really easy to trim it up, or if any like fuzz was sticking out, but this fabric did not fray at all by having just raw edges on it. So it actually worked out really well for this project. I'm just going to go around and try to cut off any areas of fuzz or anywhere that you might be able to see some hot glue from our no-sew. But I think it turned out really cute. What do you guys think? Little Be Mine, and with those red felt stickers, you could have it say anything you wanted. You could even have it say some non-Valentine's Day messages if you're not in the mood for the sweet stuff. You could have it say go away if you wanted to. So here it is. Mine says Be Mine. You could also decorate both sides if you wanted like a two-sided pillow. That would be really cute too and really easy to do. But it's a nice size pillow. I think it's going to look really cute here on my entryway. Now for the next DIY, I'm going to use a Dollar Tree vase and another pastel candle holder. This one is kind of that bluish green color that I thought really looked nice with all those green conversation hearts we have there. And I am going to go ahead and attach this one because I'm going to have a candle in it. So I do want this one to be sturdier than I did the tree. So whenever I glue glass, I really like to use like E6000. And so I have a little tiny bottle of that, which I'm going to put right around the edges where the vase is going to come into contact with the candle holder. And I just do a thin bead all the way around. And then I'm also going to use a combination of hot glue to kind of get it glued on for right now. I do a rather thick coat inside. I don't really want the glues to mix together, but just enough to kind of catch it, hold it on there until the E6000 has time to dry. But E6000 and glass and like ceramics like this, it works really well. You're going to get a really nice permanent bond. I'm just wiping off any excess of the E6000 that might have seeped out from placing that on there. And this is what we have so far. Super cute. I wanted to fill this up with conversation hearts too, so I'm just going to go ahead and just start filling it up. If you wanted to use less of the conversation hearts, you could always put a smaller cylinder or candle holder upside down inside of it. I'm going to go around the edges kind of like we did with the flower arrangement. But I have plenty of these, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up. And then we're going to top it with a candle. So easy to do and so cute. For a flat candle, I'm going to be using one of these little floating candles from the Dollar Tree. They're nice and short. And just pop that right on top. I did think about putting a candle holder inside a candle holder and like actually floating the candle. But I really decided I just wanted the candy and not the water. But I do think I have too many in there because I want there to be sides for the candles so it's a little bit safer. So I did dump a little bit of them out to make it a little bit shorter and then add my little floating candle right on top. I love those candles. I think they are great. I do love using them for floating too. But how quick and easy of a DIY is that for Valentine's Day? You've got all your fun candy hearts, you've got a candle, a pastel, little candle holder. I think it's really cute and it coordinates really nicely with the other DIYs that we made so far today. And this will look really cute on the pink one as well. For the next DIY, I'm going to use these foam hearts from the Dollar Tree. I have 3 of them, and my original goal was to cover them with Dollar Tree spackle so I could give them more of the right sides to make them look more like a conversation heart because they're a little bit rounded. But do you ever have those times when you're at Dollar Tree and you go to multiple Dollar Trees and nobody has anything? Yeah, nobody had any spackle. So I had a really good Dollar Tree trip the other day where I was able to find the new jumbo stacked Easter eggs, all the things I wanted at one store, and I got to go home. And I guess I must have jinxed myself because this shopping trip, I had a list and I couldn't find anything at multiple stores. I guess that's what you get when you shop at Dollar Tree. But I'm going to paint them. I'm using a sponge stencil dauber to paint these. You could always use a brush. It doesn't really matter. I just want it to look chalky in one coat. I don't want it to be very bright. And again, I'm using my pastel colors like pink polish. I think that's lake blue. And I think this is sunbright yellow on the paint. Again, it can be any pastel colors. But what I want to do is make a conversation heart topiary. I wish I was able to find the spackle because I think I could have made these more the traditional shape. I was afraid to try to carve these because this kind of styrofoam doesn't seem to carve real well. But we're gonna pretend that they're the right shape. It was actually a lot easier not having to use a spackle because I didn't have to shape it and wait for it to dry. But I think you get the conversation look that I was going for because we're going to put messages on them, make them look like conversation hearts. And I thought three pastel colors would look really pretty together. So I just painted the top and the bottom with one coat, just sponging them on. Whenever I work with like a project like this that's like rounded, I just really love using those little stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree to sponge on the paint. That way you don't get brush strokes and stuff like that. I think it just gives you a really good finish. So every time I see these at the Dollar Tree, I grab some of them because they're just great for crafting with. So you're going to be able to see the topiary from the front and the back. You could use this topiary outside. I don't know how well it would hold up. I'm going to use mine. I think I'm going to put it maybe on my front porch near my door if it is heavy enough to hold up out there. Otherwise, I might just put it in my entryway. For the messages, I just use my red Posca paint pen and I'm going to put Be Mine on there, trying to start in the middle so I can keep it kind of centered. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You could use Cricut vinyl if you wanted it to be perfect, but as you can see from those conversation hearts, they're not perfect at all. So don't be scared to use your own handwriting on these. Just try to keep it a very basic handwriting. On mine, I'm going to have Be Mine, Kiss Me, and then on this one, I thought I would have it say Love You. I thought that would be cute. And I'm going to put these together one on top of each other to make a little conversation heart topiary using a pod. Now, these are some of the 4-pack of the wood dowels from the Dollar Tree. Not quite long enough. I do like the thickness on these for this size project. So I'm going to have to use more than one. So for the first one, I just cut mine down. And I'm just using my miter scissors to cut it down a little bit so it won't interfere with the longer one that I need to use for the base. Now, poking the holes in these was challenging. I used some of these like cake decorating tools from the Dollar Tree that wanted to kind of break off inside there, but a pen or something like that to get a hole in there. The more you drill a hole in there, the better it's going to be because they're a little unpredictable. You'll see here in a minute being able to get these in here straight. But I was trying to poke a hole in the top and the bottom of this one because this is going to be my middle heart. And then I put it on there and tried to line it up as straight as I can and slowly guide the dowel through the middle of the styrofoam, having it come out of the bottom. Now, this one actually worked out pretty well. I took my time, slowly worked it up on there, and it doesn't have to come out the bottom. So that was actually easier. And you might want to do all of yours like that because I thought I could just use one of the longer dowels here on the bottom one. And I did have some issues with the bottom breaking off that you'll see here in a minute. I was able to salvage the project, so that's good. I just slid this on, but I needed to go all the way through. So that was the challenging part, getting it to go all the way through. You might want to cut smaller pieces or use smaller dowels. As you can see, I lost a chunk of the heart there at the bottom that just popped off when I put that all the way through because I guess the holes weren't lined up perfectly. But I'll be able to hide that in the bottom of my topiary, so no big deal. I just slide them all on there. I'm covering almost all of the dowel, and I will go in and decorate that part of the dowel later to make it look a little bit better. For the pot, I couldn't find any of the Dollar Tree little buckets that I liked, so I just picked up a plain silver bucket from the Dollar Tree and some of their window clings. Aren't these so cute? They're little conversation heart window clings. And I'm just going to use Mod Podge to attach one. I chose lavender just because it is a different color, but I probably should have picked a different one because it has Kiss Me on there, and I think I have Kiss Me on one of my hearts, but that's okay. I just use Mod Podge on there. It is covered in a little bit of glitter, which doesn't really go too well with my project, so I did seal it all over with a little bit more matte Mod Podge to take down some of that glow, but it works as a little pot here for the bottom of the topiary. And these little styrofoam pieces from the Dollar Tree fit perfect in these buckets to provide a base. And then I want to be able to stand the topiary up in it. Now, I did kind of go ahead and even off the bottom of that because I did have it cut a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of try to find a spot here in the center that I can put that down inside it. But then I remembered that I need to weigh it down. So I'm going to pop that back out and just use some Dollar Tree stones there for the bottom to weigh it down so it won't be top heavy. And then put it right down in there. I didn't cover the foam or anything like that because I want to use conversation hearts down there. And there's like a little bit of room between the lip of the pot and the foam, just enough room for some sweethearts. Kind of hard to see because this project's so big. But I'm just putting some sweethearts on the top of it, kind of like that until it is full and you can't see the foam. And then my camera didn't want to record there for a second, but I just tied a couple of pink bows with that soft pink ribbon that has the gold trim on it from the Dollar Tree. I think this looks so pretty for Valentine's Day. And again, I think this is Easter ribbon that I just got there the other day. And I just did one for each one of the dowels that you could see in between the hearts, making sure that the tails on these weren't so long that you weren't going to be able to read what they say. And it dressed it up, I think, a little bit. Let me show you how it turned out. Our little conversation heart topiary. It's a rather large piece. It's really pretty. And they do have the metal conversation heart stackable from Dollar Tree Plus right now, I think for $5. That kind of gives you an equivalent feel to this, but I think that homemade always looks a little bit better.
I found this great picture frame at Dollar Tree. It's actually like a soft pink leather. So I thought we could do a fun little conversation heart DIY on this. But I kind of want to do like a floating frame where it's just glass with no back to it. So I go ahead and remove the paper and the back of it. Also going to remove the little staples because I don't want you to be able to see those. And I just pull those straight out with my pliers. But I do want the glass in there and I want it to be like a conversation heart kind of suspended on the glass, which means we're going to need to make a stand since we don't have a back anymore. So I'm going to use some Dollar Tree craft wood and just cut it down a little bit wider than my frame. And since it's unfinished wood, I'm also going to go in and give it a coat of paint. I just used white acrylic on mine, painted the top and all four sides of that. And the frame's going to be pretty lightweight. So I think it'll be pretty easy to attach the frame to that to do like a little kind of standing sign, if you will. And that looks good. And now we can start putting together the heart. I was worried that if I put the heart on the glass directly, I was going to have a hard time actually making it look like the shape of a heart. And so I'm going to show you what I did to kind of make it more like the shape of a heart. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put a thin bead of hot glue along the inside of the frame and then glue the glass back in. Trying to push that down with a paper towel so I don't get too many fingerprints on this. And then I also am going to reinforce it a little bit with a little bit of extra hot glue on the back just to make it a little bit stronger. But I was trying not to do any of that where it was really visible from the front. But the pink leather frame is perfect for this. I love this color. It's like stitched, as you can see. Now, I have a little wood heart that's a perfect size, so I'm going to use this for a stencil, and I'm just going to use some white cardstock again, and this is just a wood heart from the Dollar Tree, a little ornament. And I use a pencil just to draw that out of my white cardstock, and I'm going to actually glue down the white cardstock heart first, and then add the candy hearts to it, so I still have that heart shape because I didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off without a little bit of structure behind it to give it that shape. So I just cut that down the same size as that wood ornament. Then to attach it to the glass, I just do a coat of Mod Podge on the back of the paper heart. I love working with cardstock. It's so easy to Mod Podge and deal with. As you can see, there's no wrinkling. It's easy to keep working without having to let it dry and stuff like that. But I don't want it to wiggle around too much when I'm gluing the hearts on there. So I did heat mine up a little bit with my heat gun to try to help that dry a little faster. And then I thought we could fill it up with candy hearts. I'm glad I decided to do the paper behind it because I really don't think it would have looked like a heart too much without that
shape behind it, but I'm actually going to do this one in rows. So I started at the very base and just alternating colors. I'm going to glue the little candy hearts up into the top of the shape. And then I'm going to do rows to kind of fill out the rest of the heart. So I'm kind of laying them out, kind of seeing how many I can fit. I fit 5 in the first row. I can fit 4 in the second row. So I'm going to go ahead and do this mirror image here on the other side. And again, trying to make my colors a little bit alternating. And then just do 4 dots of hot glue and glue down my little candy hearts. Whenever you can do multiple dots of the hot glue at once, it's going to save you some time. Making sure they're all down, and now we can start on the next one. I can only fit 3, and that's going to fill out the heart. So I do 3 on each side, gluing those down. And this turned out really sweet and cute. You could always do this on a larger scale if you wanted to do like one of the 8x10 frames or something like that from the Dollar Tree. That would be super cute too. And you could even hang it on the wall with like the glass frame. But I wanted mine to be like on a display. So that's why we've made this little stand here. It's just a matter of attaching it. Again, it's pretty lightweight, so I think hot glue will go a long way to glue it down. And I use the Gorilla Glue hot glue. It seems to work really well for projects like this. I am going to do another bead of the hot glue along the back where you can't really see it, just to make sure it's super strong. And this DIY was actually really easy to put together, very cute for Valentine's Day, and I love that pink leather frame and the appearance of the little floating candy heart here in the middle. This is how mine turned out. Super cute. And the stand actually worked really well. I like DIYing Dollar Tree frames like that. You can get some really cute looks. Isn't that so cute? Now for the next set of DIYs, we're going to be doing a little conversation heart tier tray. I did this DIY a couple of years ago, but since it's conversation hearts, I wanted to go ahead and include it because there were some really cute DIYs with this. These are the little chalkboard hearts from the Dollar Tree. They are the perfect size to make a little garland to go along the side of my tier tray. I'm going to be doing a big tier tray for this DIY, all 3 tiers. And this is going to be for the second tier. I wanted to do garland along the outside of the tier. So the first set of 2, I'm going to do pink parfait acrylic. The second set, I did Caribbean blue. I was trying to pick out like some pastel colors. And I'm just using a makeup sponge to paint the back of these. These were the chalkboard hearts. I really like the size of these. You can kind of find these year round. Sunbright yellow is the color of yellow that we're going to use. And I had almost all colors of acrylic. I think I do use chalk paint here for the green one because I did have like kind of a soft green color. And so that is this one. I think it's called Parsley. But basically any of the pastel colors. Working with all those conversation hearts on the previous DIYs, you could also do light orange, you could do white, you could do purple. There's actually not really blue ones, more green ones. But that's what I did. And then for the vinyl, I just cut down red vinyl on my Cricut and did some fun little messages. I'm not sure if I have this cut file still. I'm going to check to see if I do. If I do, I'll be sure to include it in the description below. But I just picked out really fun sayings that you would see on the little conversation hearts and cut those out of red vinyl. It was a little tricky to weed this because I think this was the Dollar Tree red vinyl, which, you know, can be a little tricky. I don't necessarily recommend it for Cricut. I do use it for crafting, but as you can see, definitely a little bit tricky to do the weeding. But these are all the messages I came up with. Sweet pea, dream big, kiss me, love bug, true love, you rock, soulmate, ooh la la. I thought they were really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my paper transfer paper to these and get these ready to decorate our little candy hearts. This was really fun. You could customize it. You can put names on it. You can put any little fun saying that you can think of. I went online and just tried to figure out fun sayings to go on conversation hearts. And when you DIY them like this, they turn out even cuter because you can kind of get them on there just right where the actual candy ones are kind of stamped a little bit crazy, right? So, paper transfer paper, I get that on Amazon. I always have that linked in my Amazon shop under the Cricut store, and I love it. It works so great for Cricut vinyl. So again, I'm using the strings that came with it, just tying that, and then I can tie that onto my garland. I was trying to decide if I was going to use a pink pom-pom garland. I thought that would be fun for Valentine's Day, or a wood bead garland. And I ended up doing wood bead. You could just use twine though, that'd be super cute too. But I made enough to cover the entire bottom tier. I do want them to kind of be equal distance between each one, and I kind of calculated how many beads I need to skip before I tie them on. And as you can see, I just count how many beads I need, and this is the Dollar Tree wood bead garland, and then just tie my little candy hearts right on. That way they're all completely centered, but if you were just going to use twine, tying them on like this, you can kind of move them left to right to get them exactly how you want. And this would be really cute as like a garland for a wall or a fireplace or something like that, a coffee bar even. And I just go all the way around until I get the exact right length. And I'm going to go tie that onto my tier tray, again on the second tier. But first I do want to trim off all of the excess twine from tying it on there, just to clean it up a little bit. I just wanted a sign, didn't really matter what it was. I actually had a Halloween sign left over from the Dollar Tree, but we're going to customize it, make it our own thing. And this is kind of a great use for the Cricut vinyl from Dollar Tree. Besides using it for your Cricut, you can cover things up. Now, I just went ahead and peeled the paper because it was kind of loose on the top of this Halloween sign, but you totally don't need to. And I'm going to cut that like really cute pink Dollar Tree Cricut vinyl down to a size to cover this up. I made it a little bit larger than the sign and laid it flat on there. As you can see, since I peeled the layer off underneath, it did a really good job of giving me just a plain background. And then I'm just using a sanding sponge to cut that off, giving me a perfect cut around all four sides of our sign. And I wanted to do a really cute like little love sign for my tier tray and incorporate some candy hearts on that as well. So I think that looks pretty good. It's a little glossy, but I think we can make it work. I want to add a love word, and I found this really cute wood love word in this like little craft kit from the Dollar Tree. And it's got all those extra pieces in there I don't really need for this DIY, but I love the little word love like that. It reminds me of the statue, the love statue in Philadelphia. We used to live there. My husband and I actually lived in Philadelphia when we got married, and when we got pregnant, we went through IVF there. So I am just painting this bright red. I had a crimson red chalk paint. And then once it's dry, I'm just going to hot glue the word love right down here in the middle of the square sign. It's just the right size for this size sign. And then we're going to decorate it with candy hearts. These are the ones that come in the boxes. They do look to be about the same size. I couldn't find the box ones at Dollar Tree either, but they did have those as Target as well. I'm just going to decorate the sides. I kind of have a little bit of extra room here on the sides. So I start with all four corners, and we're just going to glue the little candy hearts on here. And then I thought it needs maybe like a little bit more candy hearts. So I'm actually going to do a couple more and just kind of frame it out here. 4 fits really nicely on this size. And again, just attaching those with hot glue. And the pink vinyl worked great for that. I mean, it gave me a nice solid background for my sign. Didn't have to paint it, so that was a win. That looks good. I think that's going to be perfect for the tier tray. We're going to start here on the bottom. You can see that I already tied the garland onto the second tier. And again, this is my really large tier tray that I was decorating for my kitchen table. So here's our little love conversation heart sign. Super easy and cute with Dollar Tree supplies. Now up next, I wanted to do a little candle for it, and I found the great like little light pink heart-shaped candle holder from the Dollar Tree. So I also picked up like an ivory like vanilla scented candle to kind of go with it. And then we can add conversation hearts actually just to the candle. I thought that'd be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and dump out some more of these little conversation heart. And I was trying to decide what would work better if I were to melt the sides of the candle to attach the little conversation hearts, or if I should use hot glue. So at first I decided to try to melt it with just my heat gun to see if that would work. And it kind of did, but then they started kind of falling off a little bit. So I'll show you the difference. If you just heat it a little bit, you can get your wax to melt, where you can attach your little candy heart to the side. And I thought that was going to work because it definitely worked on the first couple, but then they started falling off. So I do switch to hot glue here in a second, and I think that might have worked a little bit better. As you can see, kind of probably when I got the wax hot again, it's going to kind of melt it. So I decided to reinforce it with hot glue, and I'm just doing kind of a random pattern, just kind of like they're sprinkled on the side of the candle. And even with the hot glue, it was a little tricky getting them glued down, but I was able to get it. So I'm just going to cover, I want it to kind of look like it's sprinkled on there if I can. And again, just kind of giving it a random pattern. And then making sure it's good and stuck before I move on to the next one. And you're really only going to be able to see this from the front and the side, so that's really the only areas I covered with the conversation hearts. I was trying to make sure that I didn't run out of them on this DIY. But I think that's enough, and just putting it on the little heart candle holder. You can also glue some on top if you want. It will kind of interfere with burning if you do it on the top, but I'm not going to plan to burn this one. I just kind of wanted it for decoration purposes. And we're going to sit it right over here next to our little love sign. And I love how this tier tray turned out. I think it was really sweet. Lots of fun Dollar Tree DIYs. Now for the next item, I found this little love sign. I actually got this at the Crafter Square. Not necessarily Valentine's Day, but I thought it was perfect. I want to kind of just leave the base of it wood, and then we can just paint the love like a pastel color. I'm going to use the Caribbean blue, trying to stay with the same like pastel colors that I was using on this tier tray. And just using a makeup sponge, we're just going to paint the word love. And then it's a little short of a sign, and my galvanized metal tier tray has sides, so I needed to raise it up some way because I thought it was going to be covered up. And so I just use a little Jenga block from Five Below. I just wanted like a little block of wood to raise mine up, and so I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the bottom of the sign. We're also going to decorate it, of course, with conversation hearts. So I'm just going to use some hot glue and kind of just put a couple of these on here, decorating the letters, giving them that fun conversation heart feel, and just a very quick, easy DIY. I'm going to go ahead and glue on my block just to kind of boost this up. So you'll be able to see it from the outside of my tier tray. Easy peasy little love sign with just a few candy hearts. And I'm going to put it right over here. And now you can kind of see why I had to do that block on the bottom, so that it's not all hidden by the sides of my tier tray. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make a cute little pillow. Sometimes I like doing pillows on my tier tray, and I found this great baby blanket at Dollar Tree with all the pastel color hearts all over it. I thought this would be cute to do just like a little heart-shaped pillow out of this fleece baby blanket. And so I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree wood sign that I had just as a template. I just wanted something about the right size, heart shape, that I could kind of use as a little bit of a pattern. And I just used the Sharpie to sketch that out. I folded my baby blanket in half so I could go ahead and cut both pieces at the same time. And I'm just cutting that heart shape out, trying to cut all of the Sharpie off so you can't see that in the end. And we're going to do a really simple little no-sew pillow. I like doing that on my tier trays, especially my larger tier trays, especially like behind things, kind of fills in the space. And it's just a fun thing to do on a tier tray, a little pillow. So I did half of the heart with hot glue and just laid the other layer right on top, gluing half of that together. And then I'm going to leave part of it open so that I can stuff it, but glue down most of the heart. And I always like to save my old bed pillows for polyfill, but you know, you can get polyfill at Dollar Tree occasionally. I've seen it there a few times lately. And go ahead and fill up my little no-sew pillow until it is nice and full. And then I can finish it by just hot gluing the top of my heart back together. I told you it was going to be easy. A little easy no-sew heart pillow. The pastel hearts and stuff on there, really cute. Kind of reminds me of the candy hearts, the conversation hearts. And I think this will look really cute there on that bottom tier of the tier tray. Super cute and easy, and we're going to put it right back here up against the pole. And it looks really good behind that little love sign that was a little bit shorter. We still have some room to decorate down here, and I had this little tinsel heart sign. It was just the right size. It was way too blingy though for what we were going with, the conversation hearts. So I'm going to try to DIY it and try to make it look like a conversation heart if I can. So I actually had a little galvanized metal heart from the Dollar Tree and some of these little canvas bags from the Dollar Tree. It had like a pink heart on it, and I thought I could just cut out the front of the bag and we could use that to cover the little galvanized metal heart right like that. You could always cover wood heart too if you had like a little wood heart. But basically I'm trying to make a cover for the front of that tinsel heart. To kind of go more with my theme, less the sparkly glitz and more of the conversation heart. So I just glued that down with some Mod Podge, and then I can trim off the excess fabric from my little bag. I like DIYing with those Dollar Tree bags. You can make some really cute stuff with it. And as you can see, that totally has a different feel than that blingy heart. Now the pot was also blingy, and so I'm going to try to cover that up with some of the light pink velvet ribbon from the Dollar Tree. A little tricky to get it to go around this shape, but I just trimmed off a little bit where I could kind of pull it tight. And then glue this down, kind of covering the bottom of the pot. And it gives us that softer feel. So this little tinsel heart was the right size for my tier tray. It just was not the right style. And so just trying to give it a quick little makeover here if we can. Now the base was a little hard to make it stand up. I actually had one of these little wood lemon heart stickers from the Dollar Tree that I actually glued to the bottom just to make it more stable. I probably should have cut off the excess velvet ribbon. That might have helped. And then I just used a red Sharpie, and then we can just put a little message on here, like a little candy heart. And I just put Be Mine on mine, just in some block letters to kind of make it look like a candy heart. And I'm just going to attach that with hot glue right on top of my tinsel heart, like that. As you can there's still lots of bling. So I had another one of the galvanized metal hearts from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. I glued to the back, kind of sandwiching that together. It's kind of, you could use that wood heart that we used for the candy heart topiary. That'd be really cute on a tier tray as well. And then I put a couple of the little candy hearts down in the pot, even though it was glittery down there. I didn't mind that too much. But I do still have some of the fabric that we used from the fabric bag. So I cut down some strips so I could kind of cover the sides of this too. Kind of sandwiching that in and making it way less sparkly and a little bit more burlap. And I cut a strip for both sides, doing the sides of the heart. And glue down the little candy hearts right there to the base. And pop this back on there. It wanted to kind of fall off on me. It looks nothing like it started with, but it does kind of go with the candy heart theme. So I think we're going to be able to put this like right over here on the tier tray. I have done lots of Valentine's Day tier trays. I'll have to be doing a Valentine's Day tier tray video soon. I know it's always a popular theme to decorate with. And for the next DIY, I wanted to make a little Valentine's Day gnome. So I had a little gnome left over from Christmas that I'm basically just going to borrow the beard from because I wanted to do a sock gnome. So I found these great pink fuzzy socks at the Dollar Tree. And then I also found a burp cloth from the Dollar Tree that has that same pastel heart pattern.
So I'm going to put a little bit of bath salts from the Dollar Tree in the bottom. You can use pebbles, rocks, whatever you got, just something to weigh down the bottom of your sock. And then I'm going to use some polyfill from a pillow to build a little sock gnome. They're so easy to make. And once I get it the right size, I'm just going to take a zip tie around the sock and tie that off just like that. I can cut off the excess material of the sock, and we have the body of the gnome. Now this is the burp cloth. You could also, I guess, use the baby blanket. It is the same pattern, but this is a little bit less fuzzy. I thought it'd be a little bit easier to work with to make a little hat for our gnome. So I have mine like folded in half, and I'm just going to cut, a long pointy triangle like a gnome hat like that. And we're going to do a really simple gnome hat. Again, no sew. Very similar how we did the little no sew pillow, just by doing a bead of hot glue on the left and the right seams, making a cute little gnome hat for our gnome. And I thought we can make it kind of go with that pastel conversation heart theme that we are doing on this tier tray today. So I can go ahead and put my hat on, see if it's going to fit. I think I made mine a little too long, so I just trimmed mine up a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little polyfill in there to kind of make it stand up a little bit to see what I think about that. Just kind of pushing that down right inside, giving it that classic gnome hat shape. And I am borrowing the beard for my gnome, but you can do the beard out of so many different things. For the very tip of the hat, I wanted to do a little pom-pom. I have some of these little pink pom-pom garlands from the Dollar Tree, and I went ahead and hot glued one to the end just for a little festive touch to his hat. And then I told you I was going to borrow the beard. I'm just going to do that with my heat gun, trying to melt the glue, just peel the beard off. I wasn't going to use this little guy, so I thought I might as well be able to use his little beard. And I can also kind of reuse his nose. He actually had arms too, which is kind of a nice thing to have when you're crafting gnomes. A lot of times I use like the little gnome stockings from the Dollar Tree when I DIY my gnomes for a beard. And sometimes I use like the little microfiber mop heads for beards, just whatever I can find from Dollar Tree. And it was all kind of stuck together, so I'm just kind of trimming it down until I just get the beard and the nose. That's all I really need. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue the beard onto the sock, the little pink body of our little gnome. Also the little pom-pom they had for the nose. You can also use a wood bead for that if you're making a gnome. And I decided against the arms because they were a little too dark. I didn't want to have to recover them. And then we can put the little gnome hat right on. I'm going to hot glue that down to the sock to make sure it stays in place. And it kind of has like just a random rough border around the edges, but we are going to do like a brim to the hat that's going to kind of go over the little gnome or gonk nose and kind of clean that all up a little bit. I'm also going to glue it here to the back to make sure it stays in place. And this is the sock that we cut off earlier. I'm just going to use the band that was at the end, cut off a strip, and it's going to make the perfect brim of the hat that I can just put right down on top, hot gluing that to the side of the nose, and helping finish off our little Valentine's Day gnome. I love a good gnome for any holiday, and anytime I can incorporate one into a tier tray, I definitely try to do it. I think he's really fun. Now I wanted to put a candy heart on his hat to kind of make him go with the theme a little bit more. So I just glued one right there to the brim, and he is the perfect size to kind of finish off the bottom tier here of our tier tray. And then we're going to have 2 more tiers to decorate with more Conversation Heart Valentine's Day DIYs. I was trying to decide if I wanted his beard to kind of hang off like that, which is kind of cute, or if I wanted to kind of leave it a little bit more inside. Isn't he sweet? Okay, next DIY was so easy. They have so many things like this at Dollar Tree right now. These are the EXO bath bombs. And I thought we could do this, like a really cute little EXO sign with these. Kind of using them off-label, not really using them as a bath bomb, but using them for decor.
So I'm going to combine 2 of those letters with one of the little Jenga blocks from Five Below, and I'm just going to simply hot glue those on to make a really easy little tier tray sign. Can't get much easier than that, right? So I glue on the XO. They have a lot of spa stuff like this I've decorated with before. Really cute sizes for tier trays. And then I'm going to decorate the front of the wood block with more of the conversation hearts to kind of continue that theme. And we have a great little small sign for the middle tier of the tier tray, which says XO. So you can kind of see that wooded bead conversation heart garland a little bit better now. We're going to put this one right about here. And next DIY, this is another one of the wood hearts from the Dollar Tree like we used for the topiary DIY. And we're going to make like it into a little conversation heart. So I'm using that bright yellow that we also used for the conversation heart garland. And we're just going to paint all over on this. It does kind of have a beveled edge, but anytime you're going to have like a chunky heart, it's going to give you kind of that appearance of a conversation heart. And so we're just going to kind of hand paint it. Something super easy, but just a quick, easy little Dollar Tree DIY sign for a Valentine's Day tier tray. That yellow color is so pretty. I did go over it with a couple coats just to make sure I had a nice blank surface. And then using my Sharpie, I just put XO on here. Again, you can put just about any message you want on there. Just in some block letters to kind of make it look like it's stamped on there. And I didn't think that was quite noticeable enough, so I did go over mine with a red paint pen too, just to make it pop a little bit more. And there's the message for our little conversation heart. Now I do want it to stand up since it's going on our tier tray. And so to do that, I'm just going to attach it to another one of those wood blocks from Five Below. I love those things. I stock up on those every spring at Five Below. You get a great big box of those. And this is how it turned out. We're going to go ahead and put this on the second tier as well to continue our little conversation heart theme. And I love those little wood heart signs. They're so cute, so versatile. Now on to the next DIY. We're going to fill up the rest of this tier. This is one of the little Valentine book stacks from the Dollar Tree. I'm not going to remake it too much. I'm just going to add a little bit of a conversation heart DIY to it because it's already got the whites and the pinks. It says be mine forever, lots of love. So it's already got kind of a Valentine's Day saying on it. I'm just going to take some burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Mine was a little thicker than I wanted. I'm just going to trim it down. I just wanted something simple to kind of make it look like the books are kind of tied together. So I take that strip of burlap and glue that, attaching it to the bottom of my book stack. And if you wanted to kind of remake yours and do like the same colors that you were doing on your conversation hearts like we did before, you totally could, but I thought it was kind of really cute on its own, so I didn't go too crazy on that. And then for little decorations, we're going to again use the little candy hearts by gluing those onto the burlap ribbon. Super sweet and easy. I just want to kind of alternate colors, make them look like they're kind of falling down the front. And just a quick, easy makeover of this. And kind of gluing that down a little bit so it's a little bit tighter there to the top of my book stack. And then we're also going to attach some more of the little candy hearts right here on top. And I always like to decorate the top of my book stacks too. I think that looks really cute. I also have some of these little intricate woodcut hearts, the craft board from the Dollar Tree, and I just glued a couple of those on top too just to give it a little bit more character. And a book stack is always great for a tier tray. It's just the right size, I think, for the second tier. And we're just going to kind of work this in here. You can kind of have it hang off the side a little bit like that if you'd like, to make it a little bit more visible, especially when you're working with a tier tray like that that has sides. But I think it definitely goes well with the conversation heart theme, and I love the little hearts on there. Now for the next sign, I wanted to do like a jar of candy hearts. I had a leftover jar sign from Christmas, so you can kind of use any season that you might have, and we're just going to kind of remake it. So I start just by removing the twine, the tag that was on the back of it, and I didn't really want to try to cover up that happy holiday pattern on the back, so I'm just going to mask it with some cheap contact paper, and that's going to be the back of the jar, just using a sanding block to cut that down to size. Since it is on a tier tray, I did want it to have like a finished back, not really have like a Christmas background on there if I could. And then we can just decorate the back of this. I'm going to use that same like celery green, pastel green color that we used for the candy heart garland and paint the little jar that color. Trying to stick with the pastel color scheme for all these DIYs. We've done pink, we've done the yellow, so I wanted to do a green jar. And it did require a couple coats to cover that MDF there on the back of our little jar sign. But I thought a jar of candy hearts would be perfect. And then I just used a pink paint pen, and I'm going to do like a Ray Dunn font. I just put candy hearts on mine. Super easy. A little bit shorter than saying conversation hearts. Kind of the same message. And then we can decorate, of course, our little candy heart jar with some of the candy hearts. So I'm just going to attach those to the front with hot glue. Just kind of stagger those along just for decoration. And kind of anywhere where I can kind of fit some. Now for the top part, I'm going to replace the twine on here. I kind of did this step, I think, out of order because I did forget that I kind of wanted to make the top of the jar silver like it was on the back. But I just wrapped it around with twine, tied that off, and then to kind of finish that off, I used one of the little wood hearts from the Dollar Tree in pink and glued that right there where it came together. And that's when I was decided, oh yeah, I wanted to make the top of the jar silver. And I do have some silver like acrylic paint. So I'm going to try, even though I've already got the twine and everything on there, just to add a little bit of silver here to the top to kind of make it look like a jar lid. But you probably should do that step first. But it wasn't too late. So there's our little jar of candy heart sign. So easy, just using a leftover jar sign I had from Christmas, and I think it turned out really cute. It's just the right size to finish off, I think, our second tier here. And just a fun variety of candy heart DIYs for this tier tray. Now for the top, I don't have a lot of space up there, but I kind of wanted to stick with like the conversation heart theme. And I found these yard stakes at Dollar Tree that are really cute. They already have like the messages on there. They're the pastel colors. So I'm going to do them back to back on my top tier. And so I just popped the sticks off the back. Now the only thing I didn't like about them is that they were glittery, and I hadn't really used any glitter on my projects today. So I'm going to try to mute that down a little bit if I can. You could also use like they have the conversation hearts that are a little thicker that stand on their side from Dollar Tree. That would be really cute on a tier tray as well. But I kind of wanted something big that was going to fill it up all the way. To tone down the glitter, I'm just going to go over it with some matte Mod Podge to see if we can kind of make that sparkle a little less, because I wasn't really going for the theme of the glitter on this one for sure. But I do like these signs, and I think they're going to work well. So I just went over the whole thing with matte Mod Podge and kind of try to mute the glitter. I guess it works a little bit. I did a nice thick coat on both, gave that a quick dry, and then I was like, they still look glittery. So I'm just going to go in with some of that crimson paint, a small paintbrush, and I just kind of updated mine a little bit. When you paint over the glitter, for sure, it's going to help mask it a lot better than before. And so that's what I did. I mean, if you like the glitter, definitely leave it. But I was trying to go with kind of just a traditional conversation heart theme, a little bit less on the glitter bling for this tier tray. And I went ahead and did the same thing here on the second side. And I'm just going to have these like kind of back to back going the same direction on my top tier. And I'm just going to kind of do that with some double-sided tape. And my tier tray kind of has a pole in the middle, so I just kind of want to adhere them to that so it doesn't kind of tip over. This is going to be on my table, but just a quick, easy Dollar Tree hack here for some conversation heart signs. Like that. And then it'll be like, the same from the front and the back. Now for filler, I didn't have too many candy hearts left over at this point. So I also had some of this party table scatter from Dollar Tree. And I liked the pink. I thought that went well with my theme, but not necessarily the gray. So I just went ahead and kind of separated mine. And we can use that pink, I think it kind of looks like candy, as filler for the tier tray. And then also the remaining conversation hearts that we have. And that's really the last step in this DIY. Be sure to stick around for the final reveal coming up here in a minute to see how this tier tray came together. I think it turned out really cute. So I just sprinkled in like the little pink beads to kind of replicate candy. If you had enough conversation hearts, they definitely would make really good filler for this theme. But since I had so much kind of open space here on the top, I wanted to fill it up a little bit. And then I sprinkled the conversation hearts that I had left over on the top. I always like to use a little bit of filler on tier trays to kind of fill in any areas where there isn't anything to provide another little fun festive touch. So I'm going to do the same thing here for the other tiers. And this again was a tier tray that I put together a couple of years ago on my channel. But since it was conversation hearts, I definitely wanted to include it. It was really cute. Anymore, I try to do like my 2-tier trays, a little bit less DIYs than the 3-tier for sure. But I really enjoyed this DIY. One of my favorite things about this tier tray was the little wood bead garland around with a little DIY conversation hearts on it. Using the yardstick signs on the top was a really easy way to fill that up. If I were to make this tier tray again, I would definitely use more conversation hearts as filler and just kind of like dump those into the bottom. I don't think I had quite enough to do that on this one, but lots of little fun ideas that you can do with conversation hearts. They're very versatile, and as long as you combine them with some pastel colors, it's going to turn out really cute. But some little fun DIYs on this for sure, so I definitely wanted to include this one too. I hope you got lots of Valentine's Day crafting inspiration with these DIYs. Now it's time for the final reveal. Let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media. And this is a QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee. Enjoy.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. I was never the one to give up the ghost. No, I was so stuck. I kept on playing my part, wanted to give up cause nothing was changing. But with you it's so clear, and now that you're here I see colors in every spectrum. Guess I finally learned my lesson. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. Myself, and I'm thinking out loud, we won't need nothing else for the rest of our time. And I know it so well, I will always be by your side. 'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. All the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.
Thank you for making it all the way to the end of today's crafting video. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, James Osborne, and Lizette Thomas. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. We would love it if you would join us in the membership. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. And if you would like more Valentine's Day crafting inspiration, be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for Valentine's Day.